What's up, guys? Dave Nader 1, 2, and 2, and I'm about to show you my deck. What's up, guys? Dave Nader 1, 2, and 2, and it's not really a list. It's just a deck discussion, I guess. It is no mystery that a lot of people are highly anticipating, to be diplomatic. Whether that's a positive or negative anticipation is up for debate. The new mechanic Link summoning, which is coming this summer. Yay! To a lot of people, this is going to change the game and how it works, and they are very afraid of that. To other people, it was a much needed change, and because the formats are just too fast and the decks are just too broken, and we need to slow everything down. I think we could have done that with a ban list. I'm starting to get into Yugioh's camp on that one. It seems, at least initially, probably the power is going to shift from extra deck based decks to more main deck based decks. Which for some people is a very, very old and time-honored tradition of the boss monster. And for other people who've played more extra deck-based decks, that's a completely foreign thing to you. But either way, there is a great selection of old and newer decks that are more main deck focused that you could choose to play if you really just don't want to play the new blue cards. For all you curmudgeons out there, I give you, I don't know, a couple of decks that could be really good or at least a lot of fun to play in the upcoming format. We'll start off with the more competitive decks, and then we'll end with some of the more fun ones, and I want to see what you guys can do with. First up is probably your true Dracos. It's essentially Monarchs 2.0. The monsters are really good, though it's probably one of your more expensive options, especially with them pull ratios out of that last set we just got. Ooh! But if you got the money or just got the luck, this was probably going to be one of the best decks of that format going forward. Next up is a personal favorite of mine and a very divisive deck. Either you love this or you hate this. Cosmos. Cosmos have tons of great boss monsters, whether it's Dark Destroyer, Dark Planet, Forerunner, or even Dark Eclipser. They're all non-targetable, humongo beat sticks, and just for certain decks, they are impossible to deal with. And once you use your one Utopia the Lightning, they drop another one of these things and you're out of options. Cosmo has a fantastic rogue deck matchup, which is probably why a lot of players dislike the deck. But it is also a solid meta competitive choice, and it really doesn't need its extra deck at all. Another solid competitive choice would be Mermail. They just got a card announced. Mermail does play an extra deck, don't get me wrong. It plays a pretty solid extra deck. However, with things like Abyss Megalo and just attacking a bunch, you can easily make this a more main deck centric deck. Like I said, it doesn't really rely on its extra deck all that much already, so it would be really easy to kind of tailor it over more towards its main deck playstyle. With things like Molan Glacia, the Atlanteans, and Prince, you are in a great position in order to make a solid, spammy control deck out of Mermails that does not really need its extra deck at all, and can still OTK out the butt. Blue Eyes White Dragon. Blue Eyes White Dragon is a really interesting deck because at its worst, you can just play a bunch of vanilla beaters and smack your opponent into oblivion. Sure, it does like to synchro summon and XC summon once in a blue moon. However, you still really only need to play one, so that one slot you get isn't a big hindrance for the deck. Because normally going into the spirit thing and it's tagging out for something else, so you don't really have to worry about wasting more than one spot anyway. And again, at the very worst, you can tailor the deck to be a more main deck beatdown version, and it would still be just as effective in a slower format because dumping like 3K beaters is a lot of damage. But enough of this meta tier scrub crap. I want to talk about the terrible rogue decks that we all want to play. Because hey, there is no better time to play a shitty rogue deck and get raffle stomped at a tournament than the beginning of a format when nobody knows what the hell they're doing. And if you're lucky, you might just catch some people by surprise and do okay at regionals. The TCG exclusive archetypes are great for this. Sub-tiers and UAs. Now you're gonna say, Dave, Ultra Athletes suck the big one. And I would agree with you. However, hear me out. Both UAs and sub-tiers, to a lesser extent, have some really strong main deck monsters that have effects that mirror extra deck monster effects. Whether it's forms of spot removal, negation, or hell, Armades and a bunch of attack boosts, these two decks do pump out some pretty beefy monsters, and in a slower format, they might actually be able to shine. They really don't need their extra deck, and if they do, that one slot is normally fine because that one slot is normally used for a combo piece and not a a playmaking card. Those crappy Shinobird Spirit cards. Oh man, I wanted to love this deck. I love Spirits. It's one of my favorite decks of all time. And when I saw they were getting new support, I was lit. But then I realized that you're making a deck that is nothing but monsters that bounce during the end phase, a really steeply resource-heavy ritual deck. No! However, in a slower format, they might actually work, because if you can actually resolve the effects of the two ritual monsters, you can really clear a board. And as long as you can deal with the back row, the deck might actually be able to do something. So, hey, give it a shot. Herald of Perfection, Herald of Ultimateness, or the Cyber Angel variants. Basically, a Lentheo deck. There is nothing more annoying than a Herald of Perfection with a full hand of fairies. And in a slower format, when you don't have as many extra deck options of dealing with that said Herald of Perfection, you might be in a much harder position to deal with the damn thing, and a control-based Herald deck might actually be okay. I would give it a shot. Things like pre-prep make this deck super consistent. It's less of an issue about getting this thing on the field and more about just the format being conducive to that kind of protect the castle type of gameplay and not just get kaiju'd. And last but not least is kind of a wishful thinking deck. With the advent of the newest emergency ban list, we found that Konami is not opposed to knocking things off the ban list when they are a complete understanding that going forward that deck probably won't be very good. And of course, I'm talking about the Oddeyes Pendulum deck. They got like all their cards back, they're getting a whole new set of support in a couple of weeks. That deck's gonna be lit for like a month. And then Links are gonna come over and just smack that thing out of the air and tell it, no, stop being pendulums. Don't. But it does show you that Konami isn't opposed to taking things off the ban list if they feel they're not gonna be super relevant for very much longer. Which means we might get some of them Necros back. Even if we didn't get the whole deck back, maybe just Shrit and Bump and Brionne Act 2, Necros could be a solid road contender going forward because it's pretty much wholly a main deck style deck. And Trishula is still a fantastic card, so it'd really be cool to see this deck make a small resurgence. Anyway guys, these are just a couple of decks that I was thinking about might be decent going forward. Like I said, it's not a comprehensive list, and I didn't rank these in any way to say that this thing is better than this, or anything else you guys are going to say is bad because it's not here. Bleh. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think, and if you guys have any other ideas that you guys are thinking about playing, just as long as it's not Synchrons, because that shit's dead, man. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think, and remember guys, if you don't troll the meta, who will? I will see you guys next time.
You are now under the control of my Millennium Rod. You will subscribe to the channel, or watch the latest vid, and if not, you could watch whatever the f this is.